In the beautiful city of Lagos, there lived a very beautiful, tall-mannered principal lady named Mrs. AWELE. Mrs. AWELE had everyone in her palm. She was rich, influential. She had everything she wanted in life. She had a son. She had a plaza. In fact, she was living her best life. Most people refer to her as Madam Talk and Do, because whatsoever AWELE promises to do, she must get that job done. Whatsoever job you give to AWELE, she gets the job done ASAP. In fact, if AWELE should give you 2 days to get the job done, AWELE was going to deliver that job in a day and probably a few hours. And that was why people loved her. Mrs. AWELE was also a very known spiritual person when it comes to church. She was the deaconess in her church. Mrs. AWELE was like a philanthropist. She had won different people's hearts. She had bought the hearts of people in her community. Everybody respected her. They saw her as a very kind person. But behind closed door, Mrs. AWELE was a total different person from what people knew her to be. Mrs. AWELE had opened a foundation. This foundation was to help girls that were being molested, girls that were being oppressed. Initially, she opened this foundation to help them. And whenever they gave birth, probably the ones that were raped, she was going to give them the free will to give up their children for adoption if they didn't want to take care of the child. But gradually, greed entered into AWELE. As this time around, she started making these girls get pregnant so she could sell their babies. In fact, she enjoyed selling babies. She had helped different families, people who felt they could not have children. AWELE was that person that when you run to, she was going to give you the child you want. In fact, if you want a particular sex of child, color of hair, she was going to make it happen. All she needed was the perfect girl and the perfect man. AWELE even started employing male workers in the foundation so that they could have time with the girls. And whenever she saw them hanging out, she never said anything because she knew what she wanted out of it. She knew her main agenda. The reason why she had brought those men to work there, it's to help get the girls pregnant, and she was going to become rich. More money in her pocket. And that was it. AWELE was very, very powerful. She had godfathers. She had people that she had helped to do different deals, drug deals, anything. Even to smuggling drugs, AWELE was open to doing it. So getting AWELE arrested was a very difficult thing to do. People had tried. Most people had said how she had sold their kids. Everyone tried getting her arrested, but it was very, very difficult. Everything she did was unknown to her son. As her son was based abroad and living a very beautiful life. To her son, Frederick, his mom was a very beautiful woman, a rare gem. She went to church, she helped the needy. In fact, Frederick had seen his mom as a very spiritual woman, someone that was equivalent to a good Samaritan. He didn't know what his mom was doing. He didn't know how she was rendering lives useless. He didn't know anything about what she was doing. And Mrs. AWELE wasn't bothered. She told herself that her son was never going to return back to Nigeria, that he was going to remain abroad. Not just that he was going to remain abroad, but he would get married there and live there forever. All she needed to do was to make more money and send to him so he could live a comfortable life. But one fateful evening, after she had returned back from the church, she had seen her son in her living room and she was very shocked. And she quickly asked him, "Frederick, what are you doing here in Nigeria? How come you never told me you were returning? What's going on here?" And Frederick looked at his mom and shouted, "Surprise!" She was not looking excited in any way. Does this look like caricature play? What brought you back to Nigeria? And Frederick told his mom, "Mom, are you not happy to see me? I did everything in order to surprise you. I even made sure not to book the ticket with the card you knew about. So why are you not acting all surprised?" Mrs. AWELE told him, "I'm surprised, thank you. Prepare, you're returning back abroad." And Frederick said, "No, Mom, I'm a full-grown man. You can't control me. I'm staying in Nigeria. I decided within me that I was going to base in Nigeria. So I don't want you trying to control my life. Mrs. Awele told her son, no, you don't understand. You cannot base in Nigeria. I have done everything. I have pre-planned your life. You are meant to be based abroad. Frederick said, no, Mom. If you want to go abroad, go live abroad. For me, I am done doing everything I need to do abroad, and it's time for me to live in Nigeria. Mrs. Awele started thinking of ways to convince her son to return back abroad. Why was he in Nigeria? Who even needed him here? So the very first thing she did was to make sure to clear her coast. She made sure that her son Frederick was not going to be able to recognize the type of shady deals she does. She made sure to clear everything in her home. Her home was just her and Frederick. She made sure to eradicate, to remove all the girls that come to the house. In fact, she had personally warned them that no one should visit her unless she permitted that person to come over. She wanted to make Frederick feel like she was the perfect mother, the same role model to him. Frederick was still living with the... But whenever she returned to work, she was back to being Awele, the street person. Awele could speak pidgin English. Nothing concerned Awele. She was ready for every type of deal. The moment someone wasn't getting the job done, Awele was ready to remove her tie, tie it on her waist and start fighting. She was not the kind of lady that you could mess with. Awele was enjoying her life and pretending to be a very wonderful mother to Frederick. Frederick, on the other part, had looked for a very beautiful job, and he got the job because he was good, he was intelligent, he knew what to do. Frederick was always happy whenever his mom returned for each day because he felt that there was someone to talk to. The house felt lonely and boring. No one was there. At some point, he had told his mom to help get a maid as he wasn't ready to do the cooking and everything, and she barely came back on time. Awele initially told her son, then you have to eat the food in the fridge. If you know you want a maid, then you go back abroad. Frederick looked at his mom and said, Mom, nothing you do is going to make me go back abroad. So it's better you get a maid. If not, you'll come back one day and you'll see that this house is totally burnt down. Awele knew that her son does not joke. And it didn't take long. Awele contacted an agency looking for a maid. And a very beautiful maid was gotten for them. Her name was Genevieve. Genevieve wasn't a maid. She's a detective. She had tried every way to get close to Awele in order to expose her shitty deals, but she wasn't able to. So she had submitted her CVs in various agencies claiming to be a maid. And as luck may have it, she got the job of a maid in Awele's home. The moment she arrived, she loved the way the home was. It was very beautiful, well organized, and there was nothing that could prove that Awele was a sinner. The home seemed perfect. In fact, a cross was going to welcome you the moment you enter her living room. Genevieve was shocked. She had heard terrible things about Awele. How come there was nothing in her home that could be used to track her down? But with the passing days, she observed closely how Awele barely came back home. Awele came back 12 midnight, and that was when it occurred to her that Awele was trying to live a clean life so that her son wasn't going to suspect what she was doing. So Genevieve started thinking of other ways to get closer to Awele. Probably become her PA, something that was going to make her closer to Awele. She needed to know everything Awele was doing. The foundation she claimed she has to support girls, what was going on behind closed doors. And with the passing days, Genevieve could not do anything as Awele already had a personal assistant. So whenever she was free, she always asked Awele if she could come help in the office, being that whenever Frederick wasn't around, there was nothing to do at home. Awele was really glad. She was happy, and she had actually told Genevieve that she was not going to increase her PO. Genevieve was the one that asked for extra job. Genevieve said, no problem, ma. I just want to be doing something because an idle man is a devil's workshop. And gradually, Genevieve became closer to Awele. She gradually started getting small information about AWELE, how she had been doing drugs, human trafficking, selling babies. In fact, AWELE was everything bad. Genevieve couldn't believe her eyes. She couldn't even believe her ears. The major issue Genevieve had was documents. She needed documents that could prove that AWELE was bad. She's tried everything she could to lay her hands on documents, something that could actually implicate AWELE, but it wasn't difficult. And it was during this period that Frederick and Genevieve started talking. They gradually started connecting. They gradually started bonding. And Genevieve found out that Frederick was a total different person. Frederick thought his mom owned a shopping mall, and that was it. He did not know other things that his mom was doing behind closed door. And she really pitied him, being that if his mom gets arrested, her bad name is going to stain his good deeds. He had tried to live an upright life. He was trying his possible best to live a very good life. And Genevieve was gradually interested in him. She liked his simplicity, the way he joked, the way he talked about things. He was someone that never took life serious. No matter how you complained about something, Frederick was going to find a joke inside. Frederick was that person that never took life serious. And gradually, Genevieve found herself leaning onto him. Whenever she was back for the day after the stress, they sat down by the garden and they talk, expressed their pain, their feeling. But Genevieve never made mention to him that she was a detective. She just still made it look like she was a maid. But with the passing days, Genevieve and Frederick grew stronger. Their bond grew very, very strong. In fact, Frederick could not go to bed if Genevieve did not return for each day. He always waited for her. He always wanted to tell her something. It graduated to goodnight kisses, and from goodnight kisses, they started sleeping with one another. AWELE never knew what was going on. She never knew that her maid and her son were a thing. Genevieve was very, very happy. She was very glad. She told herself that even if AWELE gets caught, she was going to try to make sure that Frederick was not implicated in any way, because she had already fallen for him. She was really in love with him. So with the passing days, Genevieve had laid her eyes on a document that could implicate AWELE, and she made sure to start saving everything. She snapped them with her phone. She made sure to document everything that was going to implicate AWELE, and when she was done gathering all necessary evidence, she had presented it to her boss, who was also on this case together with her. And when they saw that what they got could implicate AWELE, they had requested a search warrant in her fame, and not just a search warrant, they had even requested an immediate arrest. Court had granted it to them, and Mrs. AWELE was summoned to the court. And with all evidence Genevieve had gotten, Mrs. AWELE was arrested and was sentenced to life imprisonment. During this period, Genevieve had gone to see her, but she had no remorse in her. Rather, she laughed and told Genevieve, "Do you think he's going to love you more?" Genevieve was shocked. "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" she asked Mrs. AWELE. And Mrs. AWELE said, "You think I don't know? My son had told me that he had fallen for you. If he gets to find out that you're the same person that put his mother behind bar, I wonder if this thing you think you have with him is going to work out." But Genevieve didn't bother. Though deep within, she was scared. She didn't know if Frederick was going to still accept her feelings, being that she was the one that had arrested his mom. And when she had gone talking to Frederick, Frederick felt bad. He avoided her for some days. But Genevieve thought that he was avoiding her because he didn't want her. But unknown to Genevieve, he was avoiding her because he was too ashamed to face her. Too ashamed to acknowledge that his mother was that bad. But one fateful day, while Frederick was taking a stroll around the garden, Genevieve visited him, and she pleaded with him that she would love to talk with him. Frederick had given her listening ears, and Genevieve explained everything. Everything she was talking about, Frederick already knew. As the moment his mom was summoned to the court, everybody saw the news, everything she had been doing. They saw the track records. So he already knew. He looked at her and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for avoiding you. Not because I don't like you, not because I don't respect your feelings. I was just too ashamed. Too ashamed to call her my mom. I never knew she was like this. Genevieve looked at him and hugged him tight. She was really at peace with herself. She was scared initially, thinking that Frederick was going to abandon her, but now she was glad that Frederick was on her path. Frederick was on her side. Frederick knew and wasn't acting like a baby. And the moment they were done reconciling, Genevieve looked at him and gave him an envelope. And to his greatest surprise, Genevieve was pregnant. Frederick knelt down immediately and proposed to her, even without a ring. Genevieve was shocked and asked him, I don't understand, were you expecting this? Frederick said no, but I don't want you to have your baby without us getting married, so there was no need to waste time about it. I just really hope that you're okay getting married to me. And Genevieve said, yes, I am okay getting married to you. Your mom was the sinner. Your mom did all those nasty things. You didn't even know about it. And that's why I was very, very careful when ruling her court case. I made sure to state that over this period of time, you were not even in the country. Frederick and Genevieve hugged each other tightly. But with the passing days, Frederick gradually missed his mom. He had gone to visit her numerous times in the prison, and his mom kept on standing on the fact that she never loved Genevieve and Frederick should not get married to Genevieve. But Frederick tried to explain everything to his mom. He is in love with her and there was nothing that could be done. In fact, she was already carrying their child. And he wasn't that person that wanted to abandon his child. While in the prison, AWELE learned her lesson. She then understood that what she did was bad. As all her godfathers, none of them came to her aid. She remained in the prison and every day she kept on calling one person or the other. But the person kept on claiming that he or she wasn't even available at the time. AWELE then understood that when it comes to trouble, it just takes one mistake and you will have to bear the fall of you and so many others. AWELE looked for ways to reduce her sentence, but it wasn't granted because she had already committed a lot of sins. Some of these things weren't properly tracked, and the ones that were properly tracked were already too much. AWELE cried. She wailed. She wished in her heart that she had even showed the slightest remorse when she was being summoned by the court. She felt that her godfathers were going to come true for her. She felt that she had legs, but she never knew that everyone was looking for a way to protect their own head. AWELE cried. Whenever Frederick goes to visit his mom kept on crying and pleading that Frederick should look for a way to reduce her sentence. She was really tired of staying in the prison. She never got to have a proper meal with her son after her son had arrived, and she was not even going to witness his wedding. Neither was she going to witness the birth of her first grandchild. Her life was going to be miserable. Genevieve was moved by AWELE's tears, and she tried in her own little way to go reduce AWELE's sentence, but the courts did not grant it because AWELE had to live and rot in jail for life. Thank you very much for listening to the story of the day. I'd like you to share what you've learned from the story. What I learned from this story is whatsoever you sow, that's you're going to reap. AWELE was hiding in disguise that she was helping young girls. Meanwhile, she was using them as a baby producing factory and selling their babies. This is something that no one can actually comprehend. She was bad. And even while she was summoned at the court, she showed no remorse. But much later in life, after she had spent a long time in prison, she understood that time waits for no one. The world was going to continue moving even though she was in the prison. And she started pleading that they reduce her sentence. But how possible was that? I was shocked that the court did not issue a death by hanging rather life in prison. I don't know which is better, but I'm so glad that she learned her lesson, even if she had learned it late. But in her next life, she was never going to commit such an atrocity. Hello! We still remain your favorite storyteller, Zika. Please and please, do not forget to support your home girl by subscribing, joining our channel membership, sharing our stories to your loved ones. So we'll see you again in our next story. Bye for now.